The Jill and Stacy Show.
So we just finished our first week of session, 4 days. That means we've got 56 remaining because it's a 60-day session. Every other year is 30 days and 60 days. So we're in the 60-day session. It has to be completed by midnight, April 15th. Midnight, April 15th. And Friday was the last day to file for office. So there were over a bunch of people filed for 100 state rep positions. I'm running for state senator, so I didn't have anyone running against me until about 3:45, and Dwayne Frolicker filed, who previously had lost the mayoral race in Florence. So he has filed, so I do have an opponent for the 2024 primary. Primary date is May 21st. Yep. The general election, of course, is in November, which probably will be big. And I'd say that'll help the Republicans very much. And we didn't have a Democrat filed in the Senate seat. So after the primary, there's no Democrat that's filed for the November election. 2024 will be a big budget year. So there's a budget year every other year. So in the next week or two, they're going to file the bill for the budget, and then it'll go through hearing. It'll have to pass the hearing. So it's always the biggest thing on the agenda on these even number of years. So every other year is a budget year. So that's what they're working on right now. And we've been able to have a little bit input here and there on that, but it's just all the needed spending and resources for the resources and the different things like education and where all the money's going to go. And so that's a big thing that they're working on right now. So far there's been over 100 bills filed, and people fully expect to be 1,000, 1,200 bills filed during the session, probably. Because bill requests were, I had one bill request that I saw was numbered 1,153 on bill requests. So we're going to anticipate over 1,200 bills and resolutions. So to date, I have filed 6 bills. I have 10 total bills that I'm working on, in addition to some others that other reps are working on. So I'll go through those. The first 6 that I had filed, the first one is House Bill 46, and that is keys-based awards for homeschoolers. This was Senator Schickel's Senate Bill 24, and seeking keys money scholarships to be available to kids that go to non-certified schools. So that would include homeschoolers, private schools, Christian schools, some Catholic schools. So people that, of course, we homeschooled, had two daughters, and we never received anything from the system. So really, parents like that are doing the state a favor. They don't receive any benefits at all. But with this, if this would be opened up to homeschoolers and non-certified kids across the board should all be eligible for the same thing, kids in Kentucky.
Agreed.
It's not right if only a certain segment are, and we are taxpayers. These people that like us are taxpayers. So we're pushing for that. That has passed the Senate last year, but it went nowhere in the House. It's believed this year it'll also pass the Senate. So I'm running a bill in the House to go along with that. It doesn't affect homeschoolers that aren't interested in it or don't seek it. It's just to make it available, the scholarship funds for them to attend higher education. Then House Bill 47 is restoring religious liberty. So I've got a lot of groups behind me on this, like the Family Foundation and Alliance Defending Freedom. We got a hearing on this bill at the very last of the session, last session, and it passed 17-2, including a couple of Democrat votes. So it could go, if they will just allow it to go forward, I think it would pass easily. So this is based on laws across the nation, a Religious Freedom Restoration Act. They're called RFRAs. And there's 23 states that have a RFRA. And ours is the very shortest. It's literally 2 sentences. So ours doesn't do anything. So this adds definitions and adds a cause of action that you could pursue a claim if you're violated and you don't have your religious liberty rights as you should. Okay, so the next one is 48, House Bill 48. medical freedom and right to refuse. So this is my medical freedom bill. I'll read one line from this. A person, employer, entity, or healthcare provider shall not require, mandate, or coerce a competent adult to receive or use a medical procedure, treatment, injection, vaccine, prophylactic, pharmaceutical, or medical device. So really, this just goes back to our constitutional rights and the Nuremberg Code, which says you can't coerce somebody to force them to have medical care. So that's that one. So the next one is 49. 49 is the rights of conscience of medical practitioners. So we've got a 17% vacancy rate in hospitals for doctors and nurses, according to one study. This gives people the right to practice medicine by their own conscience. So they don't have to be forced to do things that they don't believe in. So there's legislation in 7 states that have this already. So Arkansas, Louisiana, Montana, Illinois, Ohio, South Carolina, and Florida just passed it. So those last 3 I named just passed it this past year. And so there's 7 states now. So why would someone in medical school, graduate, why would they practice medicine in Kentucky when they could be protected in neighboring states like Ohio and Illinois, or go to South Carolina or Florida? So I've themed this bill to be a workforce participation bill because we need people in the industry. So for whatever criticisms we get about the bill, we're interested in more healthcare, providing more healthcare for filling the positions in our state and in the Commonwealth. Doctors and nurses, if it goes against their conscience, they don't have to do a certain thing. Like,
oh, gotcha.
I talked to a doctor in Oregon. He was asked to be a part of an assisted suicide when it gets his conscience. So he asked his employer if he could be excused from that, and they allowed him to step aside. But he was telling me that's the things that are happening now in our culture, and things are changing. You shouldn't force someone to have to do that. There's a recent conversation with my friend with the Alliance Defending Freedom, a young couple that were married at U of L Medical School, very upset because they've been forced and they're being taught to do things that go against their conscience. So they're actually looking at locating outside of state. So instead of being in Kentucky, they're going to go somewhere like South Carolina. They're looking at their options. So that's what's going to happen unless we protect these guys, protect them, protects their rights. House Bill 50 is to repeal the inheritance tax. And this is like a 4-part bill dealing with the administration of the states.
Wasn't it something you were working on last year?
Yeah, it's what I started last year, and it's been added to this year. So basically what it starts with is a TOD, transfer on death deed. And that means you can leave your house to someone you want to, like a daughter or a grandson, fill out a form. You can do that now. When you die, they just can take the home. So it doesn't have to be part of a will. It doesn't have to be part of probate. So this is something that helps poor folks that don't have money or resources or attorneys. They can file a simple form. They can do this also for an automobile. So they can do it for a car or their home. And in Kentucky right now, we do have it set up for mutual bank accounts. If someone dies, then whoever's left in the bank account can have that bank account. So this is the principle we already have. 30 states have this now. 30 plus states have a TOD, transfer on death deed. Circumstance that happened this last year with these parents lost a minor child. The daughter was killed, and she has assets, and now they are caught up in probate trying to get these assets. And here they are grieving, and they have to get these assets. So there's part of a bill now that would allow parents to be given the minor child's assets without having to go through court probate. So I've got that as part of the bill too. And then another aspect of the bill is eliminating the inheritance tax. So now this bill is listed as an administration of estates. So it's an estates bill. Okay, then Bill 51 is the Privacy Protection Act for school children, student privacy, that I had a lot of input from Jill and Stacy on. It protects kids from data mining and surveillance, and it deals with surveys and has an aspect about RFID, radio frequency ID, like we have now in Boone County. And so it's a big part of parental rights bill that all these things have to be run through the parents first and make sure they get written permission, make sure they have notice.
So are you gonna, in that bill, or is this a separate bill where we say, look, schools, we're gonna have an opt-in, not an opt-out?
Yes, that's how it works. Right.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the 6 bills I filed. Okay, I'm still working on some, trying to update the language in our KRS that is over all the statutes. It says that all of our statutes are to be liberally construed. The Attorney General's office was making this a priority to take out that language because there's no reason to say that. You know, it's the same as if you said it's to be conservatively construed. You know, there's no reason to say that. So we're changing the language. So this is big topic. This could get bogged down because you're dealing with the overall statutory scheme of the whole state of Kentucky. So it's something that needs to be cleared through a lot of hurdles, like the Attorney General's office, in agreement on the language of the bill. I'm working with the Kentucky Department of Education a little bit on updating their statutes, and they've agreed with the wording that I've used, which was really amazing to me that they were on board with the changes that I made. And it's to make education more of a priority, as in academics, the core subjects, excellence in education. I put in language that we're a constitutional republic rather than you hear all this talk about how we're a democracy. So I've got in there that it's a constitutional republic, and focus on history and civics. And they were good with all these things. And the things that they wanted in the bill were eliminating some of the languages that are duplicative and don't need to be in there anymore. So we're eliminating some of the parts that they had in there that they want out. So it's all good. We're cutting and we're improving it, revising it, having some good language put in. I have a Kentucky sovereignty bill, restoring, or I should say reaffirming Kentucky sovereignty. This is a bill that I worked on, and I'm sharing with Lindsay Tishner. Senator Tishner is going to file and sponsor it in the Senate. She's already talked to leadership there, and they're on board. So it might be a key now to get it through the Senate. So this might shift from, I've done a lot of work on this. I met with our local judge, circuit court judge, who's a constitutional expert. And he went through the whole bill with me, and it's a joint resolution of what it is. It's not going to be part of the statute, but it's going to have the effect of law. Okay, I've got one final bill I'm working on is to create or make sure there's driver licensing departments in every county. And it's been requested because it's been so busy here. You know, like in Burlington, I heard that they were representing 8 different counties. That people from 8 different counties had to come to Burlington.
Yeah.
To their drivers get their new license. And so this bill would say each county, has to be offered in each county. Senator Adrian Southworth has helped with that bill. I'm working on other bills with other people. Jennifer Decker, I'm going to join her bill as a co-sponsor on diversity, equity, inclusion. And that is ending the teaching of diversity, equity, inclusion with the Kentucky Department of Education. So eliminating that whole department, which would save millions of dollars. Mm-hmm. I think the salaries are $4.5 million, something like that. And they send everybody to all these seminars and around the country, you know, but we're just going to eliminate that. That'll be a great cost-cutting measure too. Then there's going to be, I'm expecting a separate bill for state universities, so cutting the programs from state universities. Other states have cut their DEI programs, a good number of other states. So I think we can get that passed too. I think those 2 bills can pass. Working together as a team on this DEI bill, and it should be the strongest in the nation if we can get it.
Would it still apply if they change the name of it?
I don't
That's
know.
what they do.
That's what happened with CRT, and that's what happens with social emotional learning and all that stuff. Yep. But in this case, if they could eliminate the whole department, it would be less likely. Plus, I think we'd be sending a message, but it's a continuing battle. You know, they are going to shift things around. That's what they've been doing. So a key to the whole thing is who they name as the education commissioner. Right now, we have someone in there that's an interim commissioner, and she's limited in the time frame that she's in there. And now the Senate has to approve the education commissioner, so that's huge. So now the Senate has control, and the Senate is predominantly conservative. So we're very hopeful because that's a powerful position. And you know, the previous commissioner, Jason Glass, was at issue because he had changed everything so much in the short time he was there.
Mhm.
So it goes back to leadership and the effects that has when you have to name people and then you have unelected boards. You know, it's a problem. It's always a problem. So we got to fight it on every different level down to the local school board.
So I saw an article about chemtrails and have some states are putting through legislation to get rid of the chemtrails in their state. Is Kentucky doing the same thing?
There's some talk on that, and I've been discussing it with another rep, and I think there is a bill in the works, so we're going to talk about that soon. The bills were proposed in Texas and New Hampshire, but the article that we saw most recently said they're law in 2 states, and that wasn't true. It's that bills were proposed in those 2 legislatures. They haven't passed and haven't been signed into law. So those were based on geoengineering. They're very careful not to use the term chemtrail because for some reason, people react in a negative way where you can't make any progress by using that terminology. But geoengineering is a general term, and you can, in the bill, probably we can include things like cloud seeding, you know, trying to affect or change the weather. And we know that the administration, the president and his administration have come out saying positive things like that we should be doing this geoengineering. So it's now more well known. They're more out in the open about it. So maybe it's finally time that kind of legislation can start getting passed. Our family doctor friend, he was a doctor in Vietnam. He's of course older now, but he told me stories about accounts where he'd be in the helicopter up above watching all of that getting sprayed. He knew it was bad. It's just terrible to hear those stories.
Well, it's pretty bad when your child says, "What kind of cloud is that?" And you can't really define it because it's not a cloud.
No. And I guess they've been doing it for decades, right? I remember it as a kid. Do you? It seems like it's been going on forever.
Yeah.
So there's no telling the effects that it's had to our air and our ground and our water.
Mm-hmm.
There was a TEDx talk, and it was a young person right out of college, and she was talking about the nanoparticles and that it's in everything and that we can't filter it out of water or soil ever.
Yeah.
And she was talking about the devastation that's going to lead to, but she was talking about how they're spraying nanodust.
Yeah.
People think I'm nuts, and I'm like, there's all kinds of information about it.
Whistleblowers are coming out. Military people are coming out talking about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just thinking Ohio and Indiana, they're neighboring states, well, where we live or close to us. So what if they're spraying there and it just makes its way?
Oh, it will. And I think that's one reason why states why they drag their feet and won't address it. But we could get it started. Somebody's got to get it started. The representatives and senators are responsible too to get the word out and communicate it, but you can follow legislature.ky.gov and look at the bills that have been filed. And I'm getting emails from people saying no to this, no to Senate Bill 5 or no to Senate Bill 6, and you know they go through and they analyze each one. So you can do that, and then I would email people in leadership because they pull all the strings on whether bills move forward or not, and I would email committee chairman. Kim Moser, for example, is over Health and Human Services. And my bill for the conscience rights of medical providers would have to go through her committee. So it's going to be a really tough challenge. So I would want people to write her specifically. James Allen Tipton is chairman of Education Committee. So if there's an education bill, he's definitely one you want to go through. And then in Judiciary, it's Elliott is the chairman, and Same with him, and Jennifer Decker as vice chair. So you want to go through the people that are involved with the bill to get it moved through to a hearing. If it can get a hearing and pass, then it's likely it'll go to the floor for a vote. There's good likelihood unless they stop it.
What is the likelihood of school choice being put on the ballot as a constitutional amendment this next election?
Close to 100%. But in perspective, the most conservative voices in the House anyway are suppressed. You know that. So the leadership is not as conservative. On the flip side of that, in the leadership, 3.5 or to 4 of them are for school choice. So they are strong on this issue. So they are advocating for it. There's more and more representatives from such areas as the rural areas that are beginning to come around and are for school choice. The House Speaker is very much behind this, and he does want the very strongest language, the most acceptable to the public that we can come up with. So they are working hard on that. They're working seriously hard on the school choice amendment.
So are you working with Thomas Davis and Gary Hutchins?
Yes, yeah, and they've been working with Josh Calloway for a while.
Okay.
And yeah, we had a meeting last year during last session down in Louisville, and there were almost, I think, 20 reps there. So there are that many reps that care strongly about school choice. So it was a really good meeting because so many came, including from long distances, to come to be there with Thomas Davis with Commonwealth Educational Opportunities, CEO. And Gary Houchins is just a great voice of reason and authority, and he knows, and he's an integral part of this conversation.
What can we do to help you get this Senate seat in the primary?
Thank you for asking. Just a lot of hard work, knocking on doors and getting the word out, and all the normal things that you need to do in a campaign. Difficult part for us is that it's May 21st, but the session ends April 15th. So we don't have the opportunity to work hard like we did last time. We won based on many factors, but part of that was hard work. And now we need a team to do it. We need, a whole set of people to get out there and walk and do that for us while we're in session. So our opponents have an advantage because we're in session, we're in Frankfurt, it gets busier and busier at the end, and then they can be out working while we're isolated in Frankfurt and can't get out. So it's important we can have all the help we can. We really appreciate it. So Marianne Proctor has 2 Republicans that have filed against her, and Candy Mazzaroni has 2 Republicans that have filed against her, and Steve Doan has a Republican opponent for the primary. So we've all got primaries around here. So we need all the help we can in any way possible. Signs, waving signs, postcards. There's all the different methods that we've used before. Just got to get out there and work it. Rawlings4ky.com is the campaign site that I've got to work on and switch that to the Senate. Still working on switching that over for the Senate race. I hope everybody will come out Friday night, January 12th, at the old courthouse for TJ and his campaign kickoff. TJ Roberts is running in the seat for House District 66, which I'm vacating, and really think he'll be a difference maker in the House. He'll know the laws and the statutes, the case law, and the rules better than just about everybody there. So he'll be very effective, and he's not shy. He'll speak up, and there'll be some people that might have some sleepless nights over TJ in the House.
Also, I would like to point out that his opponent has openly stated that he does not like these liberty people.
Yeah, he thinks we're all libertarians, whatever that means. That's, it's a wide range of people. And we're not true Republicans like he is, who wants to raise taxes every year and gives donations to Hillary Clinton.
And didn't he vote against school choice when he was in office?
He did. He was the most anti-school choice there was. But he said now in literature he's for school choice.
That's weird.
Isn't that weird how that works?
Hmm.
But his voting record wasn't that way, so I don't know.
Please continue to support Steve Rawlings as he runs for the Senate seat for District 11. He is still representing District 66 and a lot more lucky folks in Boone County. Steve has been working so hard for his constituents. Let's help him out with his Senate campaign. Contact him via email at steverawlings@protonmail.com, or you can call or text him at 859-334-0861.
The Jill and Stacy Show.